Hello friends, welcome to my channel SushantChessWise. Today we are at the next topic, that is we are discussing a rook end game, and very interesting case it is related to our previous example only. Only difference in this case is that from rook end game we are about to enter a king and pawn end game. So we are going to discuss how one can go about converting a pawn up position. So you can see here white is pawn up, and moreover see the black pawn on e5 is really weak. So what would you do as white? Do try to match your moves with the game which followed and some analysis which I am showing. Firstly, most players here want to play the move either re8 or rook d5. I think both are great. White should somewhat prefer the move rook d5. The reason being e5 is attacked and we are not leaving the control of d5. So now see black goes re7 or king f6, almost forced. King f2, kf6, ke3, we see that nicely the king is going to occupy this important square. The square in front of the isolated pawn is usually weak and it's a strong point for us. So see, after king f5 comes, it wants to stop ke4, but now comes see f4. This is a typical plan. Whenever we are up, we try to convert the game into king and pawn end game. And here you can see after the massive trades on e5, let's say kf6, then rook e5 or fe5, both are good. This endgame would easily win for white. This extra pawn should promote. We will see what is the right technique. We will have a very similar endgame soon. Of course, the third logical move is kf2, which no one wants actually because of e4. We don't want black to free his weak pawn on e5, and see soon it will be traded for f3. So this is what white doesn't want. White goes rook e8 in the game. Another very useful move. The point is that it looks like we are allowing rd7, but white has calculated well that after rd7 he takes on e5, rook d1 check, kf2, and here comes c, rook d2 check and rook e2. This move was very important. This was the point of calculation, we would say, which decides that the move rook e8 is also good. Otherwise a2 would be lost and white would be in some trouble. So black goes with the move king f6. He just supports e5 and keeps the option of rook d7 open. King f2. Now king f5 was played, but I think rd7 is a very decent choice. But this time to rd7, it will be very much like the game. We will come to that. So king f5 was played, ke3, and now black played rook d7. See, this was his idea. Now the rook is trying to enter from the square d1. So very important moment of the game. Do try to figure out what you will do as white over here. Firstly, we can see here that rook d1 is not that dangerous in this case because see, white has the move re7. So white may not worry about it instantly. He goes with the move g4 though. G4 is a very interesting move here. See, places the king backwards, and then white wants to remove his pawns from the second rank, either the a pawn or the h pawn. We will see how. Now see, king f6, h4, and now you see rook d1 is mistake. Do try to calculate why it is so. See, there is a small tactic here. Rook f8 check. If king goes to e7, then rook h8. The h7 pawn is lost and a7 will hang. So at least one pawn is gone over here. And if kg7 is played here, then see rook a8. You see the pawn on a7 is weak. So black will have to rush back rd7, to which see k e4. This position is also about to collapse. So black went rook c7 in the game. He just plays a waiting game. White plays rook d8, takes control of the open file, and now black blunders here. He goes ke7. Here actually black should have just played rook c5 perhaps, but still it could be like the game. So ke7, rook d5, e5 is attacked, and now the outright blunder ke6. Still it was necessary to play the move kf6, although I don't think it would change things much because after kf6 you can see ke4, re7, there can be the move g5 check when king has to leave the support of the e pawn. This also is a lost cause actually. So black goes ke6 in the game, white plays ke4, and black puts all his hopes on the move rook c5. The aim is see that after the trade of rooks, generally king and pawn in games are easy win. White Black thinks that after rc5, bc5, he will make white's task of creating a passer here very difficult with c5 and the a5 pawns. So b4 is guarded very well, so white will not be able to create a passer easily. But see how nicely white manages that. White goes a3 first, forcing a5, and now what would you do as white? In fact, there are two ways of winning. Many people like the move g5 instantly, which is great actually. We block this h pawn permanently, we fix this side, and then we will eventually break with the move b4. Okay, or else just to put it in a more calculation perspective, we can say white can do same with first f4, e takes f4, king f4. Now black has to play king f6 perhaps. So now comes the g5 check. Same way we snatched the opposition ke6, ke4. See, there are now no moves with the h pawn, and it means on the queen side white will get the break. Let's see how. kd6, kd3, allowing king e5, but here white has the kc3. The king's movement towards this h pawn is too slow. For instance, if king f5, then see b4, if cb, ab, a4 trying to have passer, then just b5, we can pull the black king towards the pawn, and here kb4 also wins, or else c5, kd5, b6, kc6, kb4. This is also easy win for white. If black goes ab4 here, then to ab4, cb, kb4, kg4, and we see the c5 pawn is running now. So king f5 forced, kb5, ke6, kc6. It's a lost cause. Once again, there is no defense to kb7 followed by the pawn queen into c8. So black played kd6, his only chance to put up some fight. White goes b4. This is a very important technique. C takes b, a takes b. Of course, we saw a4 loses to b5. So ab, kb4, kc6. Black tries to play for a stalemate technique here. Those who know king and pawn endgames very well, they will know that if these pawns on the king side are not there, then merely with these three pieces the game would be drawn, because the king is not ahead of the pawn. But usually with pawns on both sides, it's a easy win. In fact, there are two ways to win here. I would show you quickly. c5, kc7, kb5, kb7, c6, kc7, kc5, kc8, all standard, kd6, kd8. Black has managed to keep the opposition, but there are two techniques. One is give up the pass pawn by playing say ke6 here, and after see kc7, play kf6 followed by kg7 and take both these pawns. This is one way. It's a prolonged way. So white chooses the other plan, put black in a semi stalemate. So he goes c7 check, kc8, kc6. Looks like a stalemate, but there is just one move. The h pawn can move here. This is called semi stalemate. And after h5, gh, black constantly has one pawn move. So g5, h7, g4, and white played h8 rook. H8 queen is also of course mate, and white won the game. So we saw how swiftly the rook endgame got converted into king and pawn endgame, and the basic secret is what? Keep your rook active and force the opponent to trade the rook. So we get the king and pawn endgame like a ripe fruit falling in our lap. So this is what the technique is all about. I hope you are liking these lessons. Do let me know in the comments below. Thanks for your time.